Hey everybody. I am impromptu streaming just all by myself because I'm doing something I thought might be kind of cool for y'all to see. As you can read from the description, this is just me working on a little Iron Giant shot that was suggested last week. I kind of made one and now I feel kind of addicted to it. So I'm going to stream to the to this empty channel without notifying anybody. But I hope people come by. Anyway, just working. Feel free to throw something in the chat. I'm just doing stuff and I'm going to be talking about what I'm doing. You can also catch the live replay later. This is going to be a weird experiment. So what I'm working on here is last week we started working on this Iron Giant. Actually, we ended up kind of making more of a wooden giant during the show, which looked a little bit like this right here. We thought he was kind of cute, and that was because there are some cool Redshift materials that were available for me to throw onto the Iron Giant. But we tried starting to use the node system to try to make the textures a little bit better for an actual Iron Giant. And I'll show you where I got to. Hello, any of you joining me. This is just Hashi doing a solo stream here. Just thought this would be fun. So I was able to do this, which I enjoy. I was able to use the original textures and then overlay a couple of textures that are included with Redshift, some kind of scratch patterns and things like that. And was able to apply these using this cool technique called curvature maps, which even though I work here, I had no idea what they were. I mean, I knew what they were, but I didn't know how to use them. They basically are a way to kind of make a mat that shows anytime that there's a sharp angle or increase, something like that, in the texture of your object. And I was able to use that to put these little scratch patterns near that and kind of combine that with some of the fractal noise we were working on last time to make this feel like a bigger scale Iron Giant. I was able to then combine all of these for something that you may have seen if you are on our, exciting socials or anything like that. But I'll play this little video for you. I have no idea if I turn up the volume here, if I'll double up my voice or not. So bear with me. Whoops, there's no volume playing anyway. Here we go. This may come out to you, I don't know. But I'll just play it. Woohoo! It's a cool little shot of the Iron Giant standing up. So I liked that, and I'm kind of obsessed with trying to do one more shot like this, and I thought I have 1 hour or so before I need to go pick up my kid from school, so I'm going to put a little hour on the clock to remind myself, actually probably 45 minutes at this point. Oh goodness, people are arriving at the door too. This is well thought out, everyone. Set a timer for 45 minutes. Heck yeah. All right. Feel free, if you're in the chat, to let me know if you can even hear me. Historically, I've not been great at setting up things for the chat, but anyway, we're going to try it out this time around. So I conceptualized this other shot that I think would be really cool, which would be kind of this shot that looked sort of like this, if you can imagine. So like an evening time shot, and there'd be all these, trees and stuff like that. It would be really atmospheric, and these like two headlights would turn on in the distance, and you'd hear some, what would seem like a car or whatever, but then it would look like the headlights were moving toward you, but then suddenly you'd see that they were going kind of to a weird angle and then growing, getting taller, and revealing that it's actually something huge. So the example that I made of that the other day, just for us, was kind of cool. It looked like this here. Hee. So just something kind of cool and moody, and it would look like a car, but then the animation would make it clear that it was the good old Iron Giant himself. So what I've done is I have this very simple setup. I just created a little plane, or a landscape object rather, that's kind of wobbly. And then I added this cloner right here. And the cloner is cloning a bunch of the cypress oak that is in the asset browser right here. It's really easy to just import a tree, plug it into a cloner. My cloner is cloning it along this surface, but I'm affecting it with two things. One is a random effector right here, which makes it so the rotation of these trees is all a little bit random and wobbly like this, so they can be spun to whatever degree they want. And I decided to add a little bit of left-right wobble. I don't want them to be crazy, but I want, kind of look like old growth woods where some of the trees are growing a little bit more sideways and into there. I realize this is a very dark looking image right here, and that's because I want it to be a nighttime shot. So, I could move. I have this temporary headlight in here, and if I kind of move it around, you can sort of see it cast onto these trees. You might notice these trees look very weird, and that's actually because they're making use of a cool function in cinema called level of detail, which you're probably familiar with if you're in this world. But basically what we've got here is there's this proxy level of detail for these trees, or you can switch them to full. I have them on proxy right now just to save myself the headache of having all of the geometry visible, but let me switch it for just a second so you can see. If I switch to full, you'll see that these trees are actually these really cool full redshift created objects like this, and they're nicely distributed like that. And in fact, I had forgotten that I think at some point last night I had switched out these cypress for a more pine kind of tree. So I might deal with that, but first I want to deal with the cool concept for the animation. I'm just going to close all these, not really save any changes, and start with a brand new project. For this project right here, I have several of our Iron Giants all doing some... Oh, am I reverbing still? Apologies, thank you. Hopefully that gets rid of it. I had turned it up in theory to play back the Iron Giant sound, but I don't think that it played anyway. So thank you for letting me know. And feel free to let me know if that reverb went away now that I've done that. I think that it's supposed to have gone away. But next, what I was going to do is I was going to combine 3 Mixamo animations that I was able to throw onto this Iron Giant here. So to prep the Iron Giant for Mixamo, I had to do some kind of weird things, because he's not... I mean, he's got the, like the morphotype of a human, which is great for Mixamo, but there are some kind of weird proportions, and this is a very, very low poly model. It's sort of as bare bones as you could get, but also I know that I'm not doing, super up close details on him. But the problem with some models like that is that if you were to get down to how many facets they have, there's a lot of very thin, kind of weird spaces of geometry that Mixamo doesn't really like. And so what I often end up doing is throwing the whole body of any object that you want to get Mixamo to recognize into a volume builder that kind of bloats out the character and kind of creates this little Gumby version of the Iron Giant around him. So I can show you what that looks like if I import one of these animations just as straight as they come in. So here we go. So here's the this volume builder based object that I was able to kind of put around on top of him. That meant that when Mixamo is trying to map this out, it has a really nice one piece of geometry that's all connected and symmetrical and everything like that. And then all of the pieces kind of fall into it. Now, ideally, if you were ever really doing a robot animation, one thing that you could do is once you got it into this stage and you got it animated by Mixamo, it's sort of got the proportions, everything, is you could ditch that body mesh and then take things like the head and disconnect it from its skin. That sounds so violent. But then place the head itself into the hierarchy over here. And so instead of bending and warping the head using a skin or kind of a wide mesh, you're moving him more like a robot. And you could sort of do that for a lot of these pieces. The biggest part that Mixamo struggled with was trying to force it to have the hips down lower and here. I think that I got it a little bit better in this version here. Let me see. Yeah, it got a little bit better. Maybe not. Maybe that was wishful thinking. But anyway, what I have here are 3 different animations from Mixamo that I think would combine. Oh, where's the rest of the gang? They're all working and on PTO right now. But I had an hour that I was going to be doing this specific thing, and I thought, why not grab a bit of company of these fine people in our audience in the meantime. Also, I'll teach a couple of weird, simple, specific things for this shot. So what we have here is, if I commit them all, 3 different animations. I have this running Iron Giant. I have this starting paused and then starting to walk forward kind of Iron Giant. And then lastly, even though I don't have all the frames to accommodate it, here. This is the main guy right here. It's an Iron Giant standing up and getting into kind of a neutral pose like that. So what I want is, let me see how well we can focus on just that, the one. You know, I'm going to open it up separately just so I can kind of show you what I was thinking. So this is the action. This is standing up from the ground. I'll delete my body mesh because I don't need it anymore. But the idea is, you know, he's down on the ground and then does this slow stand up. And this is where I thought it would be a great pose to do my weird fake out thing. Now, I'm going to have to do some weird stuff in here. Likely what I will do is I'm going to kind of reveal the keyframes that exist on this version of the Iron Giant. I can do that by, I'll Control-click, open my whole hierarchy, and then I'll grab the neck and head joints there. And let's see if I can find their keyframes. I can just right-click maybe and say Show Tracks. All right, it's not showing my keyframes here. That might be because in the take system, I'm going to unlock the takes here and check. Let me see what I'm doing here. Show tracks. Why not? Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm now revealing all of the keyframes for the neck and head. And really likely I'm going to delete them from a lot of this all the way until maybe here or something like that, so I can kind of manually do them. So I'm just going to select a bunch of keyframes, delete them here, select all these, delete them. There's actually even a function to delete before a certain point, which I should have used, but I'm just going to manually do this. Okay, so at the very beginning, I'm going to turn on, I'm going to make sure I'm selecting these joints properly, and then I'll add some keyframes here. What I want is, right at the beginning, the Iron Giant is technically, even though this is gonna hurt his neck, I think, be looking straight forward like that. And so the fake out will be in that woodsy shot or whatever. It'll just look like there's this car down on the ground. And then what I'm hoping is that from that point, why didn't it retain my keyframes? I thought I recorded them. Oh, I enabled keyframing and then moved them. I didn't turn on auto keyframing. So there we go. It's keyframe there. So it'll look like headlights in the distance, but then after a second, you'll see the headlights look like the car's getting picked up or something weird, and then they will look down for a moment, which I thought might be a neat way for the headlights to like show the hand, show the feet, and you'll sort of see the silhouette of him, and then by the time he recovers, he's upright like this. So there you go. That's the premise of this cool shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, now that I've modified those keyframes, I'm going to grab these three and press Alt-G to put them in a group, and I'm going to call this stand up. And now I'm going to copy that whole group, and I'm going to come over to my other comp that had these animations in it. Now that I know that I have an alternate version of this animation, I'm deleting one of the animations in here and going to paste in the other. So just the way I grouped these three together and called them stand up here, and I grouped them here, I'm going to do a similar thing. So it looks like this animation right here is exactly Michael Pollack. It's the I'm doing the Close Encounters headlights fake out. So here we go. We're going to the stand-up is all in one group with the in the same order: Iron Giant head, body, then hips. This group is which animation? That's the running group. So I'm going to call that whole group run, and then I'm going to grab these three, and I'm going to press Alt-G, and I'm going to call that the start walk. So now what I have is three groups that are distinct Mixamo animations, but I want them all to get to be combined. So here is how you combine Mixamo animations together. And there are some other tutorials out there that do this probably really well, but I'm going to show you the Hashi version. First, let's save this as combined animations, and then we'll do this. We'll go to each one of these groups by themselves, and then we'll say on the stand-up group with that selected, we'll go to, I believe it is animate, add motion clip, and you'll see that it'll kind of auto name it with stand up in the title, which is great. I'm gonna get rid of motion source and just keep it as stand up. It automatically grabs that it's 304 frames. I think that's the full animation. Yeah, it's the full animation, not my timeline. And I'll say okay, and then I'll do the same thing for. Oh, you'll see this cool little motion clip icon appeared right there. I'll do the same thing with the run animation. We'll go animate, add a motion clip, and then we'll call this run. And then we'll go to the start walk, animate, add motion clip, and we'll say start walk. Great. So now you can see they all have these three little clips next to them. Now, this weird visualization thing you see here, what that is meant to be is it shows your first frame and your last frame. They're kind of color-coded by which animation, which motion clip they are, to show like where would this one start, where would it transition to by the end of it. And that's very helpful. I don't know why it's offset. I'm imagining because globally these got offset somehow, and I'm not positive why. Yeah, they're all offset from their character a little bit, but no matter. You'll see that I have my timeline open down here. I don't remember if it automatically opened when I added my first motion clip, but if it isn't open like this for you, what you do is you right-click on any of these motion clips here, and then you can go to, whoops. Oh, there we go. When they're selected, you can say open in timeline, and then it'll open up your motion clips in the timeline. So earlier, I think we had all three of these selected. Right now, I'm just in the stand-up one because that isn't going to be my primary animation. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add more frames because it looks like the stand-up animation takes a very long time. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and let me hide these other animations. I don't need to see them. In the meantime, we're just going to look at this main Iron Giant who's there, stands up, and gets to about here. And now on this same track right here in motion clips, this is now, instead of all of the keyframes, it's a motion clip, which means that you can kind of grab the ends of this, you can stretch it, and so the keyframes are all played really fast or something like that. You can also hold down, I think, Alt, let's see, no, not Alt, Control, and just crop off parts of the animation. The way that I can see the difference there is it says right here 100%, and that's the speed at which it's playing compared to normal. So if I hold down Control, I guess probably or Command on a Mac, and you grab one of the ends, you can trim off part of the animation. And you can see that it's still saying 100% because it's just getting rid of frames. So I'm going to look toward the end where he kind of gets to this standing pose like that. And I want him to then start walking. So right over here, all of my motion clips are in this little side of the screen right here. And I can just say, grab the start walk animation, and I'll drag it over here. And then I just let go of it right here. And now, whoops, sorry, I don't know who you are. So we get to this part of the animation where he kind of stands up and just stands idle for a second. But I kind of want him to, let's see, oh, I must have labeled these wrong, whoops. Well, I can probably rename them right here. So this one's the start walk, and this one's the run. Okay, hopefully I did that right. There we go, the start walk animation and the stand-up animation. So if I have them both in the same track, here's what happens. Here's the whole stand-up animation, and then later on, it'll do the start walk animation. So not super useful just like this, but here's the cool part. I can grab this motion clip, and I'll drag it this direction until they start to overlap. And look at that little curve it automatically created. And now watch what I have. It's going to look a little bit weird, but if I press play, I'm going to stand up, and then at this transition point, he's going to move to the start walk animation, which is pretty cool. So you know, you eagle-eyed fans will notice that when it transitioned to the next animation, he sinks down into the floor, having to do a little bit with, I think the anchor point for all of these was in a slightly weird place. So don't get into keyframes and things like that and trying to fix it. Here's what you do. You go to the motion clip that, see, this one is great because the first one is great. He stands up right on the axis point. I like that. But then when he starts to walk forward, it looks like his axis is lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the second motion clip right here. Then I'm going to go over to my attributes and say advanced. And then I'm going to say create pivot. And you'll see right here, it's created this thing called stand up pivot point. And what that is I feel bad that these are misaligned in this example, but it means where is that whole animation oriented from when I move this point. So if I take this point and just move it up, you can see that I can move the start point of that animation to be right there. In fact, I could even go to the side view and make sure that he's right on the ground in this case. And now that I move that pivot point, watch the transition from one to the other. It goes, stands up, kind of shakes off, and then kind of squares up a little bit to start walking. So not too bad. So stands up and then starts walking. I'd actually like him to start walking sooner. So one thing I could do is I can drag this start walk animation earlier like this. But that's creating a blend, a long blend between these two, which interestingly sometimes really looks cool. So let's see what happens if I do this. So if I do that, here's what we have. Look at that. It's like a crossfade, but with animation. I was actually counting on this not working very well and having to show you how to fix it, which would be just, you know, you could separate out the clips like this and then crop this down earlier so it's not using all of this for a transition, so you get a shorter one. But I actually kind of liked this transition. Kind of stands up, straightens out, and begins to walk. And the cool thing about motion clips is if I wanted to, I could hold down Control and drag this motion clip out, create a duplicate of it. If they were overlapping like this or lined up, here's what you'd get. You know, obviously it would play it twice. But I could watch this motion clip and figure out where, you know, he's setting down that right foot or something, hold down the Control key and find, you know, right foot down spot. and then wait for the second time this giant sets down his right foot, line that up right here. Then on this start walk, I'll create a second pivot point that I move forward like this, probably to around here. And now what I should have is, look at that. I was just guessing, and it's pretty decent. It's taking that second half of the animation and blending the animation together. So there's a weird little hiccup right there. Let's see, or it moves him a little bit forward. So here's what we'll do. We'll go to that moment and grab this second pivot point, and I'm going to drag it back a few pixels. Let's see about how far it was. It still goes a little forward and out. So I'll drag it back, and we'll maybe try to drag this so there's more of an overlap between the two animations. Let's see what happens. That looks pretty smooth to me. I would say in silhouette form from afar, this will work. Standing up. Now the headlights are way up here in the trees, and now he's starting to walk toward you. And I have that run animation because I thought it would add some excitement to the end of the shot. I don't know if this shot is getting too long. It might be. I thought it would be weird if he started running immediately, but maybe if I went to this walk animation and just clicked and squeezed it like this, and so the speed was more, let's see, what's that, 73%? So kind of, 25% faster. I can't do math. But so now I could make it so his gait increases in speed, and then from there maybe starts to run. I'll drag the run cycle up here. I'll overlap it a little bit. Let's see how far off the beginning of the run is. It's way back there. So as you'll all recall, you select the run cycle, the thing that you need to move where it starts from, and you say over here in advanced for motion clip 5, create pivot. And it'll create this new pivot point right here. And that, for this, I'm going to go to its coordinates and translate it in Z probably. Let's see how far forward. It gets to right here. Okay, so even further forward in Z and up in Y. Let's see, I can go to the side view to kind of see where the ground is. Oh, I got pretty close there actually. Walk, 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 and then run. Okay, so this may not be the smoothest handover from walking to running. Let me see what foot goes forward. Let's see if I overlap it more. Is that going to look good or is it going to look bad? Let's see. Not great. This is like video game blending where you're like characters just highlight the thing. So let's try. This is a very long gait of a run, but let's try stretching it out and seeing what happens. Step. It goes into slow motion. You know what? I don't care. I'm just going to stick with just the walking at the end. That part looks cool. So now that I've got all this combined animation, it's all using the motion system right here. So it's using all of these blend points, and you can leave it in motion clips like this. But one thing that I like to do is work destructively. So I'm going to save my combined animations, and then I'm going to go over to here and say functions. I can't remember if I select all of them first. What is it? Edit. I really thought it was functions. Oh, motion system. I can convert this layer back to keyframe animation if I want, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to delete the run from it. I don't think that's doing anyone any good. But just looking at this one take right here of those 407 frames, we're going to go to the motion system and say convert layer to keyframe animation. And now you'll see a bunch of stuff kind of disappears. All the motion system stuff disappears. And if I now go up here and delete these pivot points and the run and the start walking stuff, I delete all of that stuff. I can even delete this motion system tag here. What I should be left with is just my original Iron Giant guy, and I'll press play, and let's hope this works. What should be happening now is that the Iron Giant now has keyframes just on this one skeleton to move him from standing up all the way to walking. And the reason why I want it like this is because I come from an animation background, and I want to be able to, it's really likely that for the lighting effect of him standing up and where I want the headlights to be pointing, I'm going to be doing some like janky breaking his neck a little bit and cheating what you would actually do when you stand up, because there's a lot of looking down that I think give away the gag a little bit too much. But this is pretty close. So now I can increment and save another version of this. So if I ever want, I can go back to my version 2, pop up in the motion system and edit stuff. But in the meantime, I have all of my keyframes right here on this guy right here. Make sense? Cool. So what do we got here? We've got about 20 minutes left before I need to leave to pick up people from school. So let's go ahead and copy this whole stand-up object, and let's open up our woods again. I think that, I don't remember exactly what stage I got them into. It wasn't great, but something like this. Okay, so we have the cypress oak tree, but I'm nearly positive that at some point I liked changing it out a little bit more. So let me double check what trees we have here in the asset browser. I'm going to go to the asset browser, type tree, and I'm pretty sure I went with one of these more spindly looking trees. One that was less full. Apparently I went for the fir tree. And here, what do I have here? I have the cypress oak. I'm just going to delete that object there from the cloner and instead throw in this, the Caucasian fir tree, I guess, is what it says. So I'm going to bring that in there. Okay, so a little bit of a different footprint for a tree. Maybe it was one of these other ones that was a little bit more spindly to begin with. Let's see. Oh, I've frozen something. What is it trying to do? What is it thinking? What do you not know that I know? Are you loading in? Oh, you're baking the viewport down here, trying to bring in all of the textures and get a handle on them. Well, I thought I kept it in proxy mode. Maybe I didn't. We'll see. I might have done. I've asked this to do too much. We'll see. It'd be very on brand of me to crash this right away. But I think I saved all of the other things properly just before this. So let's see what Hashi can do. Yeah, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and just restart myself here. That's what I wish I had done on our stream with whatchamacallit, when I was trying to make that elf speak. Because it totally worked. It just wasn't working on the stream. Classic Hashi. So here we go. Let's get this reopened here. What do we got? Let's go to our forest floor. Let's get rid of these trees in that cloner there, and we'll go into the asset browser. We'll go to trees. We'll grab, I really want the barest trees, so you kind of are seeing individual branches. I can't remember which one of these was the best for that. I think maybe this one. We'll try it. I'm going to bring it in just by itself outside of the cloner first. Let's see what we're working with. It's downloading assets, so I'm now thinking that this isn't the one that I had found that I liked. But whatever. Okay, so we've got this one fir tree in here. I'm going to drag it into my cloner. Actually, I'm going to make sure it's on proxy mode, and then I'm going to drag it into the cloner. Okay, so that populated all of these trees here. Even though I could be using something like the actual cloner properties or the random effector property, I'm going to try instead. Goodness gracious, it really doesn't like when I do this fir tree. This is a very good demo of using this. Well, I'll give it a brief moment to try to think its life through. I know that I'm asking it to do a lot while streaming. Usually Seth is the one streaming, so my GPU is all the way free to give all its resources to this, but maybe it's time for Hashi to get an old upgrade. Ah, come on, you're just loading the proxies. Do I need to stick with those trees while we're streaming? This is a very silly thing to me. That it's not liking this. Fine. We'll do it one more time. Anyone do anything fun for Thanksgiving? There's no fur in this stream. Love it. Fine, you know what? What if we just start from scratch here? Let's do that. Actually, let's open up my Iron Giant standing up from the ground animation. Oh, whoops. It's not that one. It's the combined animations. And it's not even that. It's like version 3 of this. What's going on? I remember nothing for very long. Combined animations 3. Great. So we've got you there. Just hanging out, doing your part. And then around you, we're going to create, I'm just going to add a landscape because it's got a nice built-in everything. What scale is he, by the way? Let's see if I add a figure here and solo that figure. Okay, so I did actually build him to be real scale. I think that was at Michael Zalapsky's suggestion. I don't know if, for the sake of this, so just typically overeating and avoiding political discussion this Thanksgiving. A bunch of studying this Thanksgiving for Patrick. Yeah, it'll be a fun Thanksgiving for everyone, right? I'm gonna grab this Iron Giant here, and I'm gonna create a null right at the ground, move my whole animation of the Iron Giant into there, switch to animation mode, and scale down this null. I think that's the right one. I don't know why I'm doing this. I think that this will be helpful to me. Okay, so now I'm working with a smaller landscape area there. So let's make this landscape kind of wide this way, kind of wide that way. Let's go ahead and start creating our camera and imagining what this shot will look like. Because for this shot, I might as well build for the camera, basically. So we'll add a redshift camera right here. It'll be something like that. The landscape, let's go ahead and say it doesn't have borders at the sea level. It just is kind of has ridges and stuff all over. I'll turn down its ridginess a little bit because it's supposed to be a road in the middle, but I want the landscape to just have a little bit of weirdness. So let's see, let's turn up the percentage of rough furrows and fine furrows. Right now, it has 100 width and depth segments, which seems like plenty. How far down the road should he be? If he's that far down the road, the camera can be, whoops, let me switch into my Redshift camera. Could be about this far away from him. Yeah, I like that. Let's put a keyframe there. And now I'll switch back to a default camera and just look at this area of forest. I realized that it doesn't need to be very wide this way and that way. And that was sort of the mistake that I was making, I think, in my last forest. So let's hope that this works better. Let's save this as a forest scene, something vague that I'll never remember what actually is. Let's take a look at how much time is left on the timer before I have to leave you all. I've got about 7 more minutes until my timer, probably 10 minutes total. So let's try this. Why not? Let's go to our asset browser. I really want to use that fir tree. It's the one that I like. But it's going to be mad at me. So let's see. I want this Redshift ready fur. Oh, what's kind of cool about the trees is look at this. If I bring it in, it automatically goes into placement mode. It assumes you probably want to place trees on the landscape in your thing, and you can. So I can just let go, and it puts a little fir tree right there. Cute, right? Oh, look, I've made a little holiday scene. There we go. That's all we need to do. We can just call this. We can call this a win. And say we're done. So, as I'll recall, if you go to the object itself, you can switch from proxy to full. There, that's nice and spindly. That's what I wanted. I want the silhouette of these trees to line up and for you to get a nice bunch of trees from them like that. So, there you go. That's how complicated this tree is, but I'm going to quickly go into here and switch it back to proxy so I can do the placement and put a whole bunch of them in here. Let's close the asset browser, and let's go to a top-down view here. Let's go create a cloner. We'll put the fir tree in the cloner. Now we've got this nice little array of trees, but we're not just going to do that. We're going to say use an object. Which object? Let's use the landscape object. We'll drag that down there. And now we have this lovely, that's kind of cool. Look how abstract and ridiculous this looks. So it's yeah, exactly. I'm going for the ET forest look. Many of you probably already know, but that I used to live right there in like ET country. Like my house is in the Halloween scenes from E.T. It's not the neighborhood where the Elliott house is, but it's the neighborhood where the bike chase and the Halloween trick-or-treating are. That's my house. The whole scene. I'm going to go to, forgot what I was talking about. I'm going to go over here to the cloner here, and I'm going to uncheck align clone because I want to be able to manually deal with it differently. Oh, that's funny. Oh, it doesn't. Did I tell the whole landscapes? Oh, I messed with these settings and not with the actual landscape things. Let's set this back to 1:1 on the landscape, and then in its actual object settings. This is where I meant to adjust the size, not in the not where I had done it. Here's what we want. We want something like this, kind of spread out just to the point of our camera. When I unchecked align and clone, it made it so they're all standing straight up like that. And we can decide how many trees we want the count to be. See, this is the performance I was hoping for earlier. You can totally populate this with trees. But then I want to do some stuff to make this more random. I don't want all the trees perfectly aligned like this. So let's go ahead to our effectors. We'll add a random field in here, and we'll go to its parameters. And I don't want the the position to be shifting. I still want them all on the ground. So I'm going to uncheck position, but I do want rotation checked. I'm going to dial up the, what is it? The heading? Is that what H stands for? Whoops. Oh no, I did something that I didn't like. Why did I just kill all my trees? What did I do? Landscape? Did I? Oh, I messed with your. Oh, there was keyframes on the landscape object. Why? No. I'm going to turn these all off. Animation, delete track. Okay, it did turn off. There was a keyframe on my landscape. What the heck? That's just the kind of crazy hijinks you can expect on a Hashi stream. All right, we wanted to go to the random cloner. We wanted to go to its properties. Okay, random. Okay, parameter, we want it to affect the rotation by rotating the trees randomly, and just a few degrees of back and forth on them, because I think that'll make it look like kind of a wonky woods situation. Something like that. But then I need a road here, and there are a couple of different ways you can do this, but the one that I kind of like is I'm going to add a new field that's the shader field, like this. I'll make sure that my cloner has the shader field there in it. You'll see that affected things already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my shader field and then go to shading, and I'm going to choose the gradient as a shader. So you can see what's happening right now is there are smaller trees here and larger trees here, which is kind of cool. So if I go to here and I say to parameter, you can see what that field is affecting. I want it to, there's probably a better way to deal with it, but I'm going to have it just map to the scale here, and I'm going to turn up its amount of scale to 1 right there. Should I say absolute scale? Is that what I want? I know I want uniform scale. Well, we'll try that. Okay, so the effector color, is it the custom color? No, whatever. I'm going to go over to my shading, over to my gradient, click into it. And from here, if I drag this black point to the middle right here, and then control, make a copy of it, and then control, make a copy of the white little thumbnail right there. All these reminders that I have a life to attend to outside of this. How silly. Let's see, what do we got? We've got about 5 to 10 more minutes before I should go pick up my kid. So check this out. The reason I like a gradient is because now I can use these little points like this to affect the scale of the trees and kind of design a little roadway. Let me see what in my shader parameters is not setting it all the way down to 0. Interesting. Is this just, oh, maybe does my random field, is it the order of fields? If I go to the effectors and I say the shader first. I wanted to see if it was my random field that was adding scale to these, but it's not. So okay, what do we want? Interesting. Wait, are these not all the way black? They are. Do I have time to show another possible way for that road? I believe one of the other ways that you could do it, I think, is with I think that I could do it with a weight map or with fields. I'm just trying to remember what effect you use for that. Is it a... This is probably super, super obvious, and I don't know why I'm not thinking of it right. So what happens if I do have a field? Can I use a... Whoops. What am I doing? Okay, can I use the field as a property in the shader? Because I don't think that I can use... I think if I go to my cloner, I can't use a field as an effector, but I can use, if I have like a shader field, or maybe maybe it's just a plain effector. It was just a plain effector, and then I can use the linear field for that, probably. Let's add the plane effector to the cloner. And then in the plane effector, let's say the scale, it's an absolute scale of 0. And this plane effector has this linear field in it. What other parameters are enabled in the plane effector? Eliminate position. I just want the scale affected. Okay. I don't know why. I can't think of why my goofy fields are not going all the way to 0. Because here's my field, and I can control that. But I want these trees on this side of it to be at 0. Maybe the cloner plane effector. I know these streams can get so silent when I don't have the other gents around to check on stuff. Oh, is it just that I need to be using it to make them smaller? Oh, I guess that works. So scale -1. I can use the field to shrink them down to nothing. I'd rather be able to know that I was, instead of scaling these down, I'd rather be demonstrating the presence of them or not. Like, this is kind of cool. And then, of course, you could go into the, shader field and remap it. So it's, one of the things that we were doing earlier with a road on it. But I'd rather have there either be the presence of trees or not. I mean, I could also just create 2 landscapes covered with trees. That wouldn't be so bad, right? And just put a real road in the middle. I don't know. I'm trying. I want to optimize how this is doing it, but it feels definitely like you should be able to use one field to do this. Oh well, maybe Hashi doesn't figure it out. All right. Well, let's try this effector for now. Let's go to our linear field. Let's make it this length, basically the length of this section right here. We'll go to remapping, and under contour mode, we'll say curve. And now we've got this cool little curve here, and so we can drag up, I guess it'll be this. We'll drag down this one, control at a point right there in the middle, and we'll bring this curve in like that, and bring this curve in like that. And now maybe it'll look like new growth or something like that. That's kind of neat. Overall, these trees aren't big enough, so I guess what I would do to offset how it's scaling these is, might as well save this, scale up the the base tree. Is it going to want to do that at all? Oh, I'm in Oh no. I was still in animation mode. Was that what was messing with all of my stuff? Great. Great. Okay. How narrow is this corridor for trees? Is that too narrow? Do we think my computer will die if I switch these off of proxy? Place your bets, because it's probably the last thing I'm going to try. Yeah, it doesn't matter, whatever. Let's switch back to our Redshift camera where we thought that was going to be. So we can kind of see Iron Giant way back down there. Let's add a keyframe to, oh, this is what happened. I didn't have the camera selected, and I added keyframes to the landscape earlier when I thought I was adding keyframes to the camera. Cool. Just adding a little keyframe here because the goal would be, let's just try to mock up our shot design real quick. Something like this. It looks like a car in the distance, and then those headlights suddenly start going kind of wonky, and then he stands up and starts walking forward. How far does he get by the time the camera's up here? I don't want it to look like it's like blazing through the trees, but I do feel like I want, when he stands up, for him to be too tall to, like, you know, almost too tall for the camera. If I put on my auto keyframes, and I'll let you scale up a little bit more, Iron Giant. So if you're that big, that's a little bit better. Like the idea that by the end you have to do something that is making this camera rotate up there to see how tall he is. And you mess with all the curves and stuff like that later. Okay, so here's my previs for this shot. If y'all follow us on Threads or Blue Sky or Instagram, whatever, you'll probably see the result of this, and maybe we'll show it off later. But here's roughly the layout now, as far as we got ourselves today in this 1 hour. So pretty cool. Thank you all for coming by this very casual stream. And I might do some more of these if y'all like them, so just let me know. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Just subscribe to the channel there. Obviously, you probably all already are, but tell your friends. Tell your friends this is the cool thing to do over Thanksgiving break. Anyway, love you all. Thank you very, very much for coming by, and I'll see you when I see you.